say what needs to be said. Brandon Marshall let the opportunity of a lifetime pass him by. And have y'all been following this story? Have y'all been watching him speak on these experiences in these interviews? Brandon Marshall regret is starting to show in these interviews. When he do these interviews, he was and still is sitting on a gold mine with I Am Athlete. But disagreements between Brandon Marshall, Fred Taylor, and Channing Crowder has led to the downfall of the brand. With Channing and Fred, obviously we all know, left and went and started a pivot, while Brandon was still determined to show Channing and Fred he made who they are, the original characters of the show. By bringing them on the show, he claims he made them popular. He made their brand bigger. And of course, Channing and Fred 100% disagree, right? Because right now, Brandon is on a media tour describing his version of events that caused the breakup with I Am Athlete, claiming to be $12 million in debt because of the brand. Wow, right? You're probably asking, how do you get $12 million in debt from a podcast? And here's where the issue, I believe, lies with the company and the characters and the hosts and so on and so forth, right? Brandon wanted to combine two different companies, House of Athletes and I Am Athlete, while other parties had no interest in House of Athletes, allegedly, They just thought they was a part of I Am Athlete. They didn't want anything to do with anything else, the vision that Brandon Marshall had. Everybody has their own vision, and they didn't have the vision that Brandon had, right? Now, Brandon also claims the company was bringing in $700,000 a month at one point of time, pretty much the peak of the company, right? But now the I Am Athlete numbers are down to thousands. So, his views, the podcast, the numbers are not doing close to what they used to do, right? But my question to you, do you think greed played a part in Brandon Marshall's decision-making or his ego? Because when you're doing so good and you got a big brand like that, what is the cause of the fall? How is it so hard for everybody to be happy and keep this thing going? I always wondered that. I question that. Like I say, he had the opportunity of a lifetime, right? Because when just around, you hear a lot of people complain of Brandon's bad business practices, claiming he's a bad businessman, right? And does bad business. Yeah, all around. I try to take up for him, but people just continue to speak on his bad business practices, right? But that can only mean one thing to me, and that only means to me that he wasn't breaking bread properly. Everybody feel like they wasn't getting compensated properly, or maybe the contracts was unfair, or he was keeping brand deals to himself. The money. Where's the money? Everybody wondering where the money. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, money gets in the way of a lot of things. So if you could figure out the money situation and not let that cause breakups, a lot of times businesses can flourish and go through the roof. You know what I mean, right? But I don't hear too many people speak good on Brandon Marshall and his business practices. I only hear negative things. I haven't really heard anything positive. So, we got to learn how to take accountability and learn how to correct our mistakes to be better, right? Now, everyone has moved on but Brandon, right? Because he still has I Am Athlete. He still continues to bring up the breakup whenever he's doing these interviews and talking about it. He's still bringing it up. He went from a star-studded show to basically having to host I Am Athlete by himself. It was an amazing show. I mean, people was looking forward to I Am Athlete every, Monday? It was crazy, right? You had LaShawn McCoy, Chad Ochocinco, you had Terrell Owens. All these people were hosts at one point in time. And the talent that he brought on the show had no limit. It was a star-studded show, right? People love to be a part of something big. And I Am Athlete was that attraction. So, everybody was talking about I Am Athlete. I Am Athlete was a thing, and people was begging to be on there. And, the talent was amazing. It was a great show. It was a great system. But the most important piece to the puzzle, I found out, and a lot of people may not know, is Alicia Lauren Z. I'm not going to try to say her last name, but Alicia Lauren, right? She's a writer, producer, and a director. She helped launch I Am Athlete, and she worked with Floyd Mayweather, I think, behind the scenes, 24/7 Access or whatever it's called, Hard Knocks or whatever with football. So her resume is crazy, right? So she does her thing, and she is the one that gets that podcast going and gets that show going and bring all the talent on the show, right? Her bio reads, or it says she's a 9-time Emmy winner, right? She is responsible for securing the talent, right, on the show, right? And she was the biggest asset for I Am Athlete. So you have your biggest asset, Alicia, the one that's behind the scenes, bringing in all the talent, writing scripts, putting things together, allegedly, right? And you feel you don't need this person. How don't you work things out with the person who you know who's well established in the industry and work it out, right? So they couldn't work it out, so she left and she joined the Pivot with the rest of the crew. And now you see the Pivot is thriving. The talent is, constant every week. That's her job. That's what she does. You know what I mean? She's well established in that world, right? I don't understand how you can let your top asset go and get away like that and not work things out. At the end of the day, I have to work it out with you because I understand how important you are to my company and my vision, right? And sometimes we let our pride and ego get in our way and be our biggest downfall in life. And I hate to see that, right? Because why? Because pride is a hell of a pill to swallow. And I don't understand why, but a lot of people can't swallow that pride pill. But why is it so hard just to make the best decisions, the best conscious decisions when everything is going so good? When everything is going bad, yeah, I know I need this. I should have did this. But when it's going good, why you don't understand? Make sure I'm good with this person, make sure this person's happy. And I think, the control and the leadership that we get and establish sometimes, or we feel I did it and we don't need nobody, or my brand, my platform is so big, you need to be on here. And it's just all egos and pride. And we have to understand the business is always better with more than one person. You know what I mean? When you want to do it all by yourself, I learned it's harder that way. And it takes a little longer, right? But I never heard Brandon take accountability for anything. And that's a red flag to me because I'm an accountability person. I look at myself first and understand what I've done wrong before I try to figure out what other people done wrong. And that's what I never hear from Brandon. I don't really hear him take accountability on, the situation and the breakup and things that he could have done different. Now, on Cam Newton's podcast, Brandon asked if Fred Taylor deserved 25% of the brand, even though he didn't put any capital up. And this is part of the issue too. So Brandon Marshall is on Cam Newton podcast. I'm not sure if Cam Newton asked or Brandon asked, but the question was, does Fred Taylor deserve 25% of the brand? And he didn't put any capital up. And of course, Brandon's response was no. Now, this is interesting because this is part of the problem. This is when they wanted to establish ownership. They thought it was owners and stuff like that. So Brandon is clearly saying no, all right? So, with the character issues and all those things that Brandon have, or they're alleging, when it's time to break bread or give me a piece of the pie, because if we sell it, you can sell this thing for $200, $700 million. I want to make sure I'm compensated properly. But Brandon said no. Now, money is 99% of the issues and the problems most of the time. Now, Fred assumed he owned a percentage of the company already, right? Through his sweat equity. He didn't put up any capital, so he was working hard and he assumed that they established and they created this company and this brand and this show together. So my sweat equity shows that I'm an owner. And you told me as my brother that I own it, so I took your word for it, right? So the sweat equity meaning, right? He didn't put up any money. It's just the work he put in to help make the brand grow. So you're out there working every day. I got to be here from 8 to 5. All right, I got to do this, got to record all day, got to help find talent. Those are the things that the sweat equity Fred is claiming, right? But I hear a lot of regret in the voice of Brandon Marshall when he speaks about the experiences, right? It's a lot of regret. Now, I know he wished he would have handled things completely different. That's what I hear in Brandon Marshall's voice. And no, he won't admit it. I don't hear him saying it, coming out blatantly saying it because they're beefing right now and taking shots at each other. But that's where the problem comes for me because I don't want to let it get to a standpoint where I have to say I would have handled things completely different. We handling things together. We all in this together, and let's keep flourishing and growing this company and this brand. Now, my question to you, do you think Brandon Marshall can revive I Am Athlete and make it one of the top shows again? Because, he's still trying. He's still working on it. He's got the paper route. You have other situations, but it just, man, you gotta keep your name strong out here in this business world. And right now, Brandon, it seems like nobody wants to get caught up in any business with Brandon because of his bad business practices and, word on the streets. So got to come here and say what needs to be said and talk about that Brandon issue and the breakup. I didn't really speak about it too much, but, he keeps bringing it up and more ammo and people and, shots and all type of stuff. So, comment down below. Let me know y'all thoughts. Tell me what y'all think. Till next time, say what needs to be said. Mr. Pick Six, Sante Samuel, I'm out.